The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, a fun show on tap for you all today. It is The Challenge, MTV's The Challenge. Best season ranking. I'm very excited to talk about this. If you want to get into a draw for $20 DK, I might as well give something away if I'm going to be here. Smash the like button for the episode. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and tell me what was your favorite season of the challenge of all time. We're through 32 of them as we rank these right now, so there's a lot to get to. Joining me to break it all down, the man who is far more into this than I am because he is the host of a challenge podcast. It is called The Challenge Chronicles. It's Rob McIntyre. What's going on, my man?
What's up, Patrick? Ready to talk the challenge?
Yeah, so can you take us through? You put out a poll on Reddit getting the peoples to rank their favorite seasons of all time, right?
Yes, I did. I went through Reddit and Twitter and then texted a few of my friends who watched the show and then just had everyone go through each season and score it 1 through 10. And then I took the average of that and ranked all those seasons from 1 through 32.
All right, so that's interesting. So there's certain things that pop up in the people's rankings for everything because it's not like a list where, hey, I like this number 1, this number 2. It's just so theoretically there's multiple seasons that could have been 10 out of 10.
Yeah, some people had 80% of the seasons 10 out of 10 and then just had 1 or 2 seasons they left as a 1 type thing. So I'm not even sure if I should have counted those, but that just made it easier for me because if you have everybody rank the seasons 1 through 32, first off, it's going to take forever. And then secondly, it's much harder to rank those yourself.
So we're going to go through those results as well, along with our 2 lists. We're going to do our top 6 each, and we'll get to some honorable mentions as well. Now, you've scored it a little bit differently than I have. So take the people through your process of how you've ranked these seasons.
Okay, so just for a little bit of background, I do study economics and sports analytics in school, so I'm a data person. So what I did, I went through each season and scored it out of an overall score of 100, and then I had different subcategories to feed into that overall ranking. So I scored each season's competition, drama, and politics out of 15 each. I gave the cast a score out of 25, the format a score out of 25, and then the setting, production, and importance of the season each a score out of 5. And then those all added up to 100. So then I went through those, gave those each a ranking, and then added them together.
So when you break it down to those metrics, I mean, I'm just doing mine based on the ones I like the most. I think that's a pretty easy way to, I think most people are going to go about it that way.
That's probably how most people would do it. Yeah.
I would think that's probably, I mean, this is an entertainment show. So, I mean, actual importance, I guess that can mean different things to different people. But do we have a favorite type of season? I guess that's what it boils down to because we've just seen, Vendettas, the last 3 that we had during this trilogy. We had Vendettas, which was, I guess it was individual. Then you had The Final Reckoning, which was pairs. Dirty 30 was individual as well, but it's not individual the same way that we remember, sort of like the free agents and the duels and even the island to that extent, which became a team competition towards the, in the actual final. But how much of that stuff do you put into it? Do you have a favorite type of season?
Yeah, so with the format, I kind of like having the mix of formats, honestly. I like it when they go from individual to pair to team and mix it up. I think one I would like to see them really go back to, though, is the one they used in the second Battle of the Seasons where it was 4-person teams. Because that way you can pair up, you can have guy, female, and female pairs, but then also have it where you can have the competitions actually be fair between the teams. And I think there's a bunch of different ways you could do that. If you look back at Final Reckoning, I think you could have made that season 4-person teams and made a team of, let's say, Brad, Kyle, Marie, and Kara, and then had them be a 4-person pair, and then just had each person in the pair have a rival or ex in the pair. So that's something I would like to see them do.
All right, let's get into the rankings. What did the people... actually, should we go through our honorable mentions first? Because I had trouble whittling down my list.
I mean, I did too. That's why I brought in the numbers. So for mine, 2 quick seasons I wanted to shout out. So the second Battle of the Seasons, like I just talked about, I don't think that season gets... A lot of people actually really don't like that season.
It's not
It
great.
didn't make my top... I like it. It didn't make my top 6. But I think, like I said, I like the format a lot. I think the drama... There was also a lot of crazy fights in that season. If you remember the Frank, when he was fighting with Dustin and Nani, and then they were just all up in each other's face. Frank just did that whole season is crazy. So that's one season I really like that a lot of people don't like as much. And then the first Battle of the Sexes, actually, I think just going back and watching the first few episodes of that season, overall the season is not good. It didn't even like crack my top 20. But just Puck in that season is just such an insane character who there's really never been anything like him on the show, and I don't think there ever will be again, where you have a guy who like takes the machete out and then just leaves the show halfway through.
All right, so those were your 2 honorable mentions. I tried to break it up that I wouldn't have repeats of the same type of season. So, for example, if I put on Gauntlet 2, that kind of discluded Gauntlet 3 and the Gauntlet from making my top 6. So I tried to keep it like that. It's a one sort of rule that I put in place. So the just miss for me, Fresh Meat was the first cut from the list. That would not necessarily come in at number 7 because, Fresh Meat 2 is on my list. But Fresh Meat, Battle of the X's, 1. Free Agents, Duel 2, Gauntlet 2, Dirty 30, and Rivals 2 all just miss my list.
Yeah, I have a few of those on my list. With Fresh Meat 1, my issue with that season, going back and watching it, I like the Exile, but having it done every single time kind of gets repetitive. And also that season had a super good rookie cast they brought in. But I think that kind of overshadows that. I don't think there was that much house drama going on that season.
Oh, that was the Wes season. That was the first time that we got to see Wes. And then Wes just kept getting thrown into exile and continuously winning. And it was the first Evan season, too. So we had Evan paired up with Coral, then Evan ended up leaving. Like, that was like the first part of the season. Then you had the Wes stuff for the end, and then Darrell ends up winning in the final.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good season. That rookie cast, though, is insane, just how good that rookie cast is. You have West, Kenny, Evan, DM, and Evan all come on the show at the same time. And you can make like a legit argument those are 5 of the 8 biggest faces on the challenge for that era.
So, I mean, if you want to talk about history, then there's one that seems to have a lot of importance for at least like 8 years of the show where you have all the best people coming in at one time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a super important season. I just think sometimes that overshadows. Like, I don't think episode by episode going through it, it doesn't have like a peak like some other seasons that I like.
Maybe, but it is pretty solid all the way through. And then like the other people that you have on the season, like Derek's on the season, Theo Vaughn is on. It's the last time we see Theo, isn't it?
Yeah, that is Theo's last season. Theo's great on that season too.
Shane is on that season. It's the last time we see Coral, I think.
No, she was on Gauntlet 3 when she won the elimination with Beth.
That's right. And then you have Darrell and Tina. Is Tina like the most overrated person in the history of the challenge?
It's hard to say because people kind of push her with that like Tina, Rachel, Coral group. The Veronica, Rachel, Coral group. And I was just rewatching Battle of the Sexes too, and she's actually pretty good on that season. But in her later years, like, is she really worth bringing on Cutthroat as a mercenary with CT? Like, you have CT. I don't think Tina's the female version of CT. So I think the show definitely pushes her a little bit much.
Yeah, and I guess we have Big Easy's first season. Katie Doyle's still on the season. Tanya's still on the season. This is one of the better casts that they've had. And
the cast is really good.
And it came out of left field.
Yeah, the cast is really good that season. So,
all right. So what's the people's number 6 on this list? I'm curious to see.
The people's number 6 is actually Fresh Meat 1. So we were literally just talking about that.
No, see, the people know. They know to rank it inside. It didn't crack my top 6. It would be number 7. But it's just a great season. It really establishes Wes as someone who's great at the challenge, and it establishes Evan as the exact same way. Just injury takes him out of play. That you have all these people coming in who no one's ever seen before. How are they going to compete? And they're just great at it. And Evan seemed like he kind of geared himself to be on the challenge.
Yeah, he was one of those people who came on and you just knew he was going to be around for a while. So I have number 13 on my list. And I know that sounds low, but this is also one of my favorite shows. So I definitely still like this season. It just doesn't, reach the top end as some of these other ones do for me.
Like, going back to the Evan thing for a second, like, I think that he may or may not have, like, scouted out how to be good on these shows before coming on. It's a lot like what Pauly did on this last season, except people like Evan and he's good, unlike Pauly, who people seem to hate.
Yeah, Pauly's all right, but Pauly is not the likable figure that Evan was upon entering the house, that's for sure.
Yeah, like, Evan came in and he was, like, immediately top dog. Like, that's... You wouldn't see...
It's almost like how Kyle came in on Vendetta, where Kyle came in and just seemed to have the social game on point. That's just basically what happened with Evan when he came on. I'm sure getting paired with Coral helped with that because Coral is always kind of on top of the politics with these things. But he definitely seemed to come in and know what was up.
I'm telling you, there's one key thing to all of this. Evan, Canadians, very likable.
I mean, hey, Kyle coming in as a British pitcher, maybe that's the advantage. Just don't be American on these shows, and it helps out with the politics.
Hey, it helps yourself with the politics. It makes you inherently likable. Everyone thinks you're just having a laugh the entire time, and no one takes you too seriously. It's perfect. It's the perfect type of, like, if you were to do like a create a player of a challenge contestant, that's the sort of personality that you would want.
How is there not a challenge video game, by the way? Like a more adult version of Mario Party? That definitely needs to happen.
That is actually a great idea. I had never considered that, but I mean, I still enjoy Mario Party to this day. Only N64 versions because I don't know how to use the Switch because I'm old now. But I could get on board with a challenge video game.
Exactly. You have like the mini games, which are like the challenges in between, and then you can politic with your friends in between the challenges. It'd be great.
It'd be a great online game too. What do you have as the number 6 ranked season of the challenge?
So my number 6 is the Inferno 2.
Okay, we're going to stop there. It's higher on my list. Anytime there's something that's higher on one of our lists, we'll stop and we'll get to it when it comes along. So number 6 for me is The Ruins.
The Ruins? Okay, I actually thought that might be higher on your list. So the Ruins, I think, is the most polarizing season of the challenge.
Why? What is polarizing on it? It has peak Kellyanne. That's all you need to know.
Well, so once Wes leaves The Ruins, it gets kind of boring because he was just basically all of the drama in that season for the first half. And then also it's just not competitive at all because the champions are so much better than the challengers. But
the big thing that goes along with this is at the time when I was watching The Ruins, like I mean, I like Wes, but I always sided with Kenny, with Evan, with Bananas, as it turns out in retrospect, probably not the greatest position to be in, but we didn't know what we know, and this season has a lot of controversy that goes along with it, as we found out later on. But like, you're just happy to see those guys steamroll everyone. Like, they're the popular people on the show, and they just work everyone. Everything they do goes exactly to plan on this season. Even when Wes is trying to throw challenges, he can't even throw them because the other team is so bad.
So I've always been a big Wes guy. So maybe that's why. But I mean, it's number 12 on my list. So I do like this season. The thing is, if Wes sticks around, this season could have been like a top 3 season. I just think after he leaves, there's just like nothing going on.
You got the Brad Darrell fight. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there was like the one moment, and then you have the Johnny Derrick fight too, which people forget about. But outside of that, it's basically just all the guys in the champions team insulting Sarah the whole time.
It's really just Kenny insulting Sarah the entire time. And then there was
it gets pretty bad.
There was a weird Veronica thing in there too, where she was just like steamrolling all the other girls in the house.
Yeah, she kept on trying to sleep with Evan, so then she could work her way up the ladder. Oh, and then there was also the great moment too, where remember where they were doing the voting to see who would go in, and then it got tied, and then the rest of the champions team got brought in, and they clearly had no idea what the plan was. They ended up voting in their own alliance members against each other.
I don't remember that at all. See, there's where I haven't watched these like immediately before coming on. There's so many like dead spaces. Is this the first season that went to an hour too?
No, that was Gauntlet 3, and that was a really bad decision on that one too, because you could clearly tell the episodes were made for half an hour, but then they tried to push them into an hour block, and it was just so choppy and didn't make any sense. But by the time they got to this season, they seemed to like know how to work the hour format a bit more.
Could they have picked a worse team for the challengers? Honestly.
I mean, the rookies team on Gauntlet 3 is pretty bad too, but this challengers team is like, Brad is like the only decent guy on the team. Some of the girls are okay, but Siobhan and Casey are just so bad, it brings down the whole team.
Like, Brad's by far the best, just looking at it now. Like, Kahutta might be the second best player on this team. Like, guy-wise. The girls are actually
Adam King is actually...
Has Adam King
is actually all right.
Has he ever won an elimination that hasn't involved CT?
He won one on Gauntlet 3, I think. He beat Danny in a puzzle. Beating Danny, I know, isn't the biggest accomplishment.
Danny is on this team. Danny, I mean, he's not even overrated. People are pretty aware that Danny is horrible. But for a guy that kept coming back over and over, Danny is like pathetic at the challenge.
Yeah, seriously. Like they thought, I know I heard this somewhere, coming out of Austin, they thought he would be like the face of the show, not Wes, and they clearly misjudged that one. There's also this great moment too. We'll probably talk about this later, but on Fresh Meat 2, where so Danny, Wes, and Evelyn were on an alliance that season, and they were kind of like
I know exactly what you're saying, because Danny basically called Landon a layup.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, I'm fine running a final against Landon. I think I could take him. It's like, all right, bud, let's settle down here.
Did he ever win an elimination? Because I'm half convinced.
No, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, like he's like bad at this.
No, he is not good.
So the girls' side of this actually isn't all that bad. So like Kellyanne's good, Sarah's good, Kimberly's not bad. I guess that's really it.
No, the girls' side is well. I mean, there's some who we just don't really know. I guess like Brianna. I think this is Brianna's only season. I think this is her only season, so we don't know how good she is. And DM's all right. So
DM's okay.
DM also gets knocked out the first episode.
Yeah, DM's okay, but like Chet is a base. I actually like Chet. I wish that he would have got. He would have stayed on the show more.
I do too.
He's actually someone from that Battle of the Seasons that came off really well as not as pathetic of a challenger that I thought he was.
Yeah, he was actually really good on that season. And if you go back to that season, if he and Sarah ditch JD and Devin, they probably win.
Yes, probably. Yeah, they were the best team because the Trishelle and Dustin thing just wasn't going to work. But Sarah and Chet, yeah, they probably would have won as a team of two.
Yeah, because San Diego had Sam who was dragging them back. So if they just didn't have Devin and JD on their team, they probably win. Can you imagine a world where Chet is a challenge champion?
That'd be kind of crazy. That's the one thing that I miss about these team challenges. I like seeing people win. Like the individual seasons are really nice when they're like once every 5 times through that you have these guys have been playing on the same team or on opposite teams and there's tension. And then you just throw everyone to themselves. Like you don't know who's actually the best individual competitor. But that's what we're seeing now is that there's so many of these individual seasons that I really miss the giant team format, I guess is what I'm getting at. This isn't the right way to do it. And I think that was it Battle or Invasion of the Champions really blew it with this, that they pitted the champs versus the champs and the scrubs versus the scrubs. That I get you didn't want to walk into another situation like this where you bring in the champs and they steamroll all the challengers, but it didn't make for a fun dynamic in the season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I like the teams too if they would mix it up. I think like with the champs versus seasons, maybe instead of doing that, if they just had those be bigger team challenges with some more or less known cast members, I think that would be fun. Also with these individual seasons, it's always so easy to predict who's going to be in at the end.
Yeah.
Like Cara is just, Cara's on the season. Okay, Cara is going to either be in the end or win for the females. And you can always just kind of go through the lineup and predict who's going to end up.
This champs team is fucking stacked, by the way. Derek, Evan, Kenny, Johnny. Susie's a good competitor. Darrell is awesome. Got himself kicked off the show because he would have won too. Johanna, Veronica. I know what Cyrus is doing in there, but he's on the team. Oh, Ibis. What's her name?
Abis. Yeah, she was the one who got thrown in that one elimination I was talking about.
Abis. Wes, Katie Doyle, Tanya, Evelyn. So Tanya and Katie are just kind of there to, and Veronica, older guard, good TV, have them on. But like, this team is dominant. This team would, if you put this team up against like any group of challengers, they might win. Like, where was CT on the guys who couldn't win side? Like, you could have filled out you could have filled out a team that wasn't bad.
So he was supposed to come on, but a lot of the guys in the champs team said they wouldn't come on if CT came on because this was right after the duel 2 when CT legit almost killed Adam. So people were not about bringing him on. But yeah, with this champions team, like Johnny and Kenny are probably the 5th and the 6th best guy, which is just crazy.
Yeah, who is the best guy on the champions team? It's probably Evan, right?
It's hard to say. It depends on what you're doing, I guess. I mean, Wes is in pretty tip-top shape this season. And then Darrell too. So okay, if you could pick one season of Darrell, like what Darrell's peak season is, which season is it?
Probably Fresh Meat 1.
So, like, if you were, like, doing this draft type thing and you were picking a season of Darrell, you'd pick Fresh Meat 1 Darrell? Because I think I might actually pick this Darrell.
Maybe, but this is, like, the most, like, volatile we've ever seen Darrell. I mean, he didn't win. He generally always wins.
Well, I know, but I just think it's just because Brad was super drunk and he was probably intoxicated, too, and then they got in a fight, so.
Yeah,
if you look at the shape he's in this season, he's just in outstanding shape.
It is, but like Wes is in better shape on this season than he is on any other season. But he won the duel obviously, but that's probably his peak season for being the best at like everything.
Yeah, it's funny with Wes. Wes is another one that's really hard to pick out the best season for him because you've got this one, you've got the duel, even like Rivals. I know he tanked in the final, but he was really good throughout that season. He won all his eliminations for him and Kenny. And then in the final, he just got sick and hurt his leg, so I don't really hold that against him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll end up talking about Rivals. That's one of the best final challenges of all of them. I felt bad for Wes in that one. That was actually a turning point for me with Wes, that Kenny was being such an asshole to him in the final, and you could see it in the back of his like hamstring. There was like a balloon in it, and he kept gutting it through. He never said he was going to quit or anything like that. And the only reason that they were there is because Wes carried them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another fun because they really probably should have. I mean, I guess we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, with Wes, it's really hard to figure out because even like X's 2 later on, he's definitely not the same shape he is, but he's just got the complete mental game on point. So like you can just go through and he's got a different attribute that he's rocking each time.
All right, what is the People's number 5 on this list?
The People's 5 is Rivals 2, and that is higher on my list. Okay,
so we'll get to that. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is actually Dirty 30.
Okay. Does that appear higher on the People's list? Because it's not on my list.
It does not appear higher on the People's list. This is one of my more hot take seasons. I just really like this season.
Okay, so we recorded another show, which is already out, that you can go back, where Rob and I discuss all 3 parts of the trilogy, recap that, and preview the upcoming season 33 as well. So if you really want to get in on Dirty 30, that's probably the best place to do it. That's the one we talk about the most. But why inside your top 6? That I didn't realize you liked it that much.
So I've gone back recently and rewatched a lot of the seasons. The 10-episode stretch from episode 6 to episode 16 in Dirty 30 is about as good as the challenge gets for me. I get that the start and the end are a bit choppy, but going through that stretch, I just think it's legit must-watch TV every week. It's about as good of a binge watch as the challenge is.
I really like Dirty 30. It's fine. It was entertaining to watch. The problem is, and we've seen this like the newer, and maybe it's just people, maybe I'm just older, and I just don't like the production wise. I mean, the production value is off the charts on this show, but we've already talked moving from half an hour to an hour, which I don't know if it was the greatest idea. I really like to go back and watch some of those old episodes that are only like 23 minutes long. Like you can knock out 20 of those super quickly, and it makes it far more enjoyable to watch. Like stuff gets drawn out more on these new seasons, and I felt like on Dirty 30, like even going to break and coming back from break, you get the same like 15-second bumpers, and then all of the cliffhanger episodes. I don't like. Listen, a cliffhanger episode is a great device, but one of the reasons why I like the challenge is the same reason that people like watching. I don't know, like watching LA Law, or people like watching SVU, or one of these procedural shows. Is that you show up, you have a mission. And drama happens, stuff happens, you have an elimination, boom, let's reset next week. Like once during a season, maybe twice for a cliffhanger is great. It builds some tension for the next week. We don't need it every single episode, and we need an elimination or a mission every single episode. And this season didn't do that. Like there were just like dead episodes of this season with drama, and which is fine, but it was just dragged out.
See, my thing with that, I understand where you're coming from. A lot of people share that similar complaint. My one sort of rebuke with that is when you have the show structured that way, you can give as much weight to certain situations as you want. Whereas with the other way, you're kind of tied, okay, we have, 15 minutes for house drama in this episode because we have to get the mission and the elimination in. Because there's some times where there's a lot more house drama going on and you want to stretch that out longer. And there's other times where there's not as much, and then it's like, okay, we can get the mission and elimination out of the way in this episode. So I'm fine with them doing it just because then it gives them the leeway. So like, okay, if there's a ton of stuff going on in this episode, we don't have to fit in an elimination at the end.
I guess so. And like I said, once or twice during a season, that's fine. But it seemed like drama really took over. And I really missed them going to clubs and like actually partying. That was always a fun part of the show. It seems like whenever they go to a club now, they're the only people that are in it.
Fighting.
Yeah, like they're the only people in there, and they're just talking about like strategy the entire time. Like there has to be a moment. And that's where I think the show has gone off the rails a little bit, why I don't have any of like the newer seasons, like the brand new seasons inside of my top 6, despite being highly entertaining to watch. I'm watching them every single week. But there's, this is what I discussed too on that other show that we did. Like there's a lack of fun that's going on. Like no matter what the teams were, no matter what was going on in some of like the mid to older challenges, when they went out to the bar that night or went out to the club, everyone was just kind of having a good time.
Yeah, that's why I think they really need to use the Champs versus 4. And then we talked about this before, but just bring down the older competitors, have those bring back the sort of chiller vibe of the older shows. And then you can have these regular seasons have the intensity that these last 2 seasons have had. but they haven't really adopted that strategy lately. So.
But I think it would benefit the regular show much more than Chance vs. Stars. Chance vs. Stars does have a bit of that vibe, and no one's really taking it seriously anyway. That there's a happy medium that not everything can be the most intense thing. Every mission every week can't be the most intense mission that you've ever seen. There has to be an ebb and flow to this sort of thing. And it feels like the pacing is really off of these new seasons. So I'm hoping once we get back to like a more standard structure with a new season, that it sort of mimics the ones from, I don't know, basically, what would you, from Fresh Meat 2 through like Duel 2 or even Free Agents. Like even on Free Agents, there was drama, there was fighting, but everyone actually did seem to be having a good time.
Yeah, I buy that. One thing really quickly that we actually didn't get to that I wanted to talk about. What do you think outside of the Camilla Leroy situation? Because that's a completely different vibe. But what's the craziest moment from the trilogy? Is it the Shane Simone fight? Is it Camilla stealing the golf cart and running over the production member? Is it CT fighting with TO?
Oh, from Chance vs. Stars?
Just from like any season in that era. So from either of the 3 trilogy seasons or the 2 Champs versus seasons.
I think you pointed out that weird fight between Tony's brother and Simone in the Redemption House was just weird.
Yeah, there's that one. The other really crazy one too, though, is I don't even know if you know about this, but the Eddie situation from Vendettas, where he was on the show and they advertised him being on the show, but then a legal situation came up and he just disappeared after the first episode.
I have read something about it at the time, and then I didn't know who it was, so I didn't care.
Yeah, that was really oddly done because they like advertised him being on the show leading up to it, and then on the show he literally never gets a confessional. You see his face once in The Purge, and then he's just gone.
What else would be the situation where they threw all of Ashley's stuff over the balcony? That was good.
Kaylee stuff.
Yeah. The fight between Tony and Corey, I guess. I mean, the most memorable moment.
Oh, that one too. I didn't even think about that one.
The most memorable moment is probably that night. So you have that. You have Bananas calming down Tony by bringing him into like the confessional booth, being like, "Just stand in here, man. Don't worry about it." And then Devin and Johnny getting into it later that night.
Yeah, that whole scene was crazy. The other one from Final Reckoning 2 is the Zach Amanda one, where I don't know if that's ever happened before, where a team was immune and then threw themselves into the elimination.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to rehash all these, but Dirty 30, why Dirty 30 more than the other two?
So I just think the format actually worked out pretty well on Dirty 30. Like, I didn't mind the Purge and the Redemption House as much on this season as they did it in other seasons. And then I just think the competition in this episode is great. I think the cast is really good. Like the missions and elimination this season in particular, I think are really well designed, especially when compared to the other 2 seasons of the trilogy.
What was the best elimination in Dirty 30? I actually like, not from a competitive standpoint, but the actual elimination itself. I like the one that Johnny and Derek did against each other.
That's what I was going to say.
That was a well-constructed challenge that realistically anyone could win, but you had to be a good athlete, but it was more about balance than anything and endurance.
Yeah, the one with Camilla and Brittany and Derek Gibbons. That's one I was going to bring up. The other really good one too is Hunter versus Leroy, when they had it was like the Hall Brawl mission, but they had like the netting in between it. Probably not very safe, but it was still a good elimination.
All right, number 5 on my list is Cutthroat.
Okay, that one is higher on my list and the people's list.
Okay, so let's go to number 4 on the people's list then.
Number 4 for the people is Cutthroat, and then it's still higher on my list.
Okay, and what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Battle of the Exes 2.
Really? Why over the why over the original Battle of the Exes, which I prefer?
See, I really don't like the original Battle of the Exes. I think with Exes 2, the politics in Exes 2 is, I think, as interesting as the politics gets. I think that the characters in Exes 2 are just stand out a bit more. Like on Exes 1, you have good characters, but I just don't think they have great seasons that time around.
The final, I think that's the one thing that really stands out to me about Battle of the Exes 1. There's the final, which is great. That's probably the best final, right?
Yeah, it's either that one, Rivals 1 has a really good final too. But yeah, Exes 1 final actually is really good.
That's the one that ends on the glacier. There's a weird subset of, I think it's this season, maybe I'm just getting them all confused together, but we're like, Emily goes in blackface halfway through the season.
Oh, that's so bad. And Camilla commits to go in blackface, and then people are surprised with Camilla's comments later.
Yeah, but like Emily didn't know what blackface was. Like the Emily backstory is super fascinating. And like I remember watching
Yeah,
Real World.
because she comes from like
some sort of like weird, I don't want to say cult, but something like that.
you know the show Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? That basically sounds like what Emily came from.
Yeah, I don't have all the details on, but I remember watching Real World DC when she was on, and I was like, huh, seems really strange. And then like it actually made sense that she legit didn't know. And it just Ty didn't really seem to hold it against her that much, which was odd. Maybe he knew too.
Well, he kind of like threatened to leave, and then he realized, okay, she just didn't know what she was doing, and then calmed down.
So I guess the lesson is don't be talked into anything by Camilla.
But yes, don't let Camilla tell you to do anything.
So I'm trying to look at it right now. Where is it? We got. I'm looking at Fresh Meat. Who's on the cast of number 2? I barely remember number 2 now.
I really like number 2. So
who wins? Johnny.
So Jordan and Sarah end up winning.
That's right.
And so this is the season where they had like the Exiles, and then Wes and Teresa were controlling the game, and then Johnny and Bananas come back. Bananas and Nani come back in and like flip the house, and then Sarah backstabs Bananas right before the final.
Yes. Okay. And is this also the one where Nia gets kicked off for poking Jordan?
This is Nia's season where Nia is just a complete maniac for the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's right. So, this is a pretty good season. I remember the challenge too. The one where I think it's the one where Sarah voted for Bananas to get him off, where they had to scale down the side of that building. Is that this season?
Yeah, where it was nighttime, they had to scale down in the dark. That one looked crazy.
Yeah, that one was really good. So yeah. Who ended up going to the?
There's also the moment of this.
I guess that's the whole thing about the season. Like I remember watching it, but I don't remember anything about it, and that's not a good sign.
I think the problem with this season is just the final, because the final is kind of anticlimactic because you have Sarah and Jordan who just clearly are going to win the whole time, and you have Leroy and Teresa because then Nia got kicked out, and then since Teresa just left, they brought her back on as Leroy's partner. And then you have Jay and Jenna who are just complete scrubs and never going to win anything.
Oh,
and Leroy and Teresa could have competed, but they just couldn't swim.
I forgot about Jay and Jenna. Jay was the one who wouldn't drink that like fish milkshake, right?
Yeah, there was a little fish thing that that just was not having it.
Did they get paid for that? Like, did they get third place prizes, or did you have to finish?
No, they got no money. I mean, they still got their appearance fee and like their weekly checks and stuff, but they did not get any prize money.
All right. See, I think I like Battle of the Seasons 1 a bit more. So we're on to number 4. Fresh Meat 2 is my number 4.
Okay, that is not on my list or the people's list.
Really? So it really came down to which of the fresh meats did I enjoy more. And this one in particular, I mean, shout out Whistler, BC. The Exiles on this one are really good. They're better than the first ones, I think. The race through the forest with all the puzzles, they looked exceptionally hard. There's a really good like mini final halfway through this season where they have to carry like weights and buckets up a giant hill. I thought that was a good one. And like this season's also super fun. Like the first 2 episodes are incredibly fun of this one with everyone just getting wasted the entire time.
My issue with this season, I have it number 18, so I actually am not a huge fan of this season. The people had it number 11. But so my thing with it, I just think like outside of Kenny, Wes, Evelyn, Laurel, and Landon, nobody else does anything on this season, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a lot of people doing stuff though.
Well, that's only 5. I just think the tertiary characters on the season are so boring. Like, compare this Fresh Meat cast to the Fresh Meat that got brought on in Fresh Meat 1, and it's just no comparison.
Yeah, but
like you've got Carl, Laurel, and Teresa, and nobody else does anything throughout the show.
So we have Carl and Darrell. They get knocked out in the first episode, so you don't get to see much of them. But one of the things about these seasons is that the people that I want to see last a really long time, which is great.
I guess that's true. That's a good point. But like in the final, like you have Landon, Kenny, and Laurel are all good characters. But Landon's partner, Carly, she wasn't great. And
I actually
like,
really...
who else was that final?
I mean, Carly's not great, but she was a fun character on the show. She's just a lot of fun.
I guess so. I don't know. I think they gave her a good edit because she won.
Maybe. And then you have Landon, who just didn't want to get involved with the politics whatsoever. And then it worked out in his favor because no one wanted to face him.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was kind of allied with Wes for the first half of the season, but eventually he just got annoyed and then threw him in. So
how do you, if you have a team that's Kenny and Laurel, how do you lose a challenge?
That's a good point, especially with it's not like there was any other pair on this season that was super stacked. I mean, I guess Cara and Darrell would have been if they stuck around, But outside of that, none of these other pairs are like, stacked teams.
This season actually has one of the most like sneaky good guys of all time who never showed up again with Nor. Nor and Jen were a team. I think
Nor is really good.
They came fourth. Nor was awesome.
Yeah, Nor was really good. Apparently, he had an issue with production, which is why he wasn't brought back again.
What was do you know what the issue was?
Yeah, Nor was really good. Yeah, I don't know if we really want to publicly discuss it.
Okay, that's probably a good thing. Yeah, thank you for your editorial judgment on that one. But Nora reminded me of like, did Cook ever appear on any other season?
No, so when we talk about rivals too, I was going to bring her up because she is someone who definitely should have come back. I know she had the Philippine soccer team thing, but there's been some reports lately that she might be willing to come back.
Like you had Evelyn, you had Wes on this season. They paired up, and then it didn't work out. It also has Jillian. I just like Jillian. I don't know why.
I guess so. I don't think she does all that much.
She's just a very stern presence in the house, and she doesn't seem to get along with anyone. No one really hates her, but no one really likes her at the same time either. She's just kind of doing her thing. And she was with Stoner Pete, wasn't she?
Yeah, but remember on Gauntlet 2 and Gauntlet 3, everybody just hated Jillian. Like her entire team threw in all the time on 3, and she actually won a bunch of eliminations. And then on 2, she was like allied with the power team that eventually was like, no, you're going in. We don't like you that much.
And then Sarah was on the season. Paul was on the season. Oh, this was also the season with Brandon and Caitlin. And Caitlin got thrown into, this was after her transition. She got thrown into the female pool. She had Brandon as her partner. And she was just, she might actually be the single worst competitor of all time.
Yeah, she was really bad this season. You felt bad for poor Brandon because he was like the second to last pick, and I think he'd started with this just albatross of a partner.
Was Brandon the one who showed up to the actual exile right after having a beer, and they were like, "You can't have a beer before this."
Yeah, I know. There's never been someone hammered in a challenge elimination. I'm sure that's never happened before. But yeah, poor Brandon just had a beer beforehand, and then they wouldn't let him compete. Yeah. Not that he really would have won anyways, because he was going up against CJ and Sydney, and so I don't think he and Caitlin were coming out of victorious on that one.
Whatever happened to CJ? It seemed like wasn't he like almost an NFL punter?
Yeah, he was almost an NFL punter. This season, he's not that good. Seasons 2, he's really good. But then they just didn't bring him back. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's just one of those things where the timing never worked out. And by the time they would bring him back on, then like he wouldn't fit in with any of the storylines. Well, he feel like doing it.
He was also like super into Jesus and didn't really create much drama. It's a lot like MJ in a way. Like they were just kind of there.
Yeah, he wasn't. People liked CJ though, so I think if they brought him on as just one of the 2 or 3 likable people on the cast, he would have been fine because he was a good competitor. But he's never been like the biggest causer of house drama. So
number 3 on the people's list is what?
Number 3 for the people. Let's see, where is it? It is free agents.
Okay, free agents did not make my list. Did it make your list?
It did not make my list, no. I had it at number 7, so it just missed my list.
I had it at number 7, too, but I lumped it in with the duels as individual challenges, so I really wanted to kind of get a representation of everything else, but this is just a great season.
It is a really good season. There's a few really good storylines this season. Like you have the Jordan versus Johnny for the first half of the season, and then Cara versus Laura in the second half, which both kind of carry the show.
How did Devin make the finals in this? This was the Devin Big Easy hookup, wasn't it? Was it this season or was that Battle of the Season?
That was season.
Okay.
Yeah, Big Easy wasn't on this season, thank God.
How is Devin's made 2 finals?
Yeah, she has. That really is my one issue with this season. So with this format, with the elimination draw being random, and then people picking who to go into elimination, like there's never much of a reason to pick Devin to go into elimination. And then if she just doesn't draw the card, she just sticks around. So that was my issue, because if you look at this final, 3 out of the 6 people in the final never saw an elimination.
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of the game, is never not getting thrown in. I mean, that's bananas.
No, I know that's
and it's funny because this is the bananas season. Like, of all of his wins, this is his definitive win, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this one, or I guess maybe X's one. I think he's really going to X's one too, but this is definitely the one where his performance is like the most impressive.
Yeah, he actually gets thrown into eliminations. He wins missions, then he blows out Johnny Riley in the finals. I miss Johnny Riley, by the way. I liked him.
No, yeah, he's someone that could definitely bring back, and I'd be good with it. But the thing is, with this season, with most seasons, getting to the final is going to require some element of skill, whether it's political or athletic or something. With this one, it was just Johnny Riley not drawing the kill card.
Yeah, it was like when Devin and Cheyenne went to the finals.
Yeah, Devin and Cheyenne, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's an element of that into it too. I wish that before it, this was also the one thing I really hated about this season when they hyped up the Bananas CT elimination, like, oh, it's redemption time for Bananas, and it was like the shittiest elimination of all time.
It was just a puzzle pyramid type thing.
Yeah, which is weird that Bananas won because CT is like okay at puzzles.
Yeah, that is true. I don't think Bananas is that bad, as bad as people give him, crap for sometimes. But that one bothered me too. At the end, they just have them randomly pick the cards again, and then it ends up with maybe the two best competitors on each bracket going into elimination.
In the finals, this is good too. This is one where Zach like almost dies and then he cramps up like LeBron?
Yeah, exactly. This is the one where he's paired with Laurel, and Laurel basically almost loses because Zach just killed it for her.
Yeah, I don't think Laurel was. I think that was just an edit. I don't think that Laurel was in any danger of losing at any point because Nani got caught on the mountain for like 10 minutes because there was a spider.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. She only ended up winning by 8 minutes apparently, so it wasn't too big of a margin. But see, that's another thing with this one too. Going into the final, especially on the girls' side, you could be like, okay, Laurel's getting first, Nani's getting second, Devin's getting third.
It is. I mean, the guy's side was pretty wide open. Like, Johnny Riley had a chance to win. If Zach didn't cramp out, he could have beat Bananas, I guess. But it's funny that you see Zach in this season and see Zach now. Zach has clearly conditioned himself to be better at finals nowadays. He just needs to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not as big now, but his endurance seems to be way better these days. I don't even know if it was as much endurance back then. It's just he was at such a high elevation. It's hard to get like enough air for all your muscles when you're that big.
No, I completely agree. And he looks more CrossFit-y now than like football pumped.
Yeah, is CrossFit like the key to the challenge now? Is that just what wins being good at CrossFit?
Yeah, I think so. I think like if you're super into CrossFit, then you're going to be incredible at the challenge.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of these people who are like legit athletes come onto the show and then it just doesn't translate for whatever reason. Like Derek Torrey's ex is actually like, I forget what division he was, but he was a legit college basketball player. And then he comes on the show, it's just terrible because he's not a CrossFitter.
I guess so, but then you had like when Marlon came on, who we never saw again, was awesome at the challenges, and I think he was like a Texas Tech safety or something.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's definitely athleticism that translates to the challenge, and there's some that doesn't. I think CrossFit's just the key now.
Yeah, I would say if you had like any sort of background in athletics, that football would be the one that you would want for this. Like basketball players are terrific athletes, but they're also super gangly, which doesn't really help you in this. And like your center of gravity is just so high off the ground. It's the same reason like Derek ends up doing well a lot of the times. Like he's super strong and his center of gravity is so low and his balance is so good. It's like that's really helped him throughout the years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with basketball, as long as you're like, if you're like a wing, like a forward, then I think it works out. But if you're like just a little point guard, then I don't know if it's just because it's not like you're gonna have a dribbling drill in the challenge. So,
I mean, there are people on the show I didn't even remember were on it, like Latoya. Well, this is the season that opened with them racing to the very top of that building, right? And like someone sucker punched
that's such
Latoya.
a great mission.
That's a good one.
Where Swift dives over Frank to try to get to Latoya, and then he just completely knocks Latoya. Or he jumps over somebody to get to somebody, but then he just completely knocks Latoya out.
Feel bad.
And then Frank is just screaming the whole time as they're coming up the mission.
Yeah, this is the one where Frank got sick and had to go home. I think if Frank stayed in this game a little bit longer, he probably ends up winning.
It definitely could have happened because he was sick and still won 2 eliminations. And then it was kind of funny because Frank pulled the kill card twice in a row. And then the third episode, he's not there. So they have like the extra kill card because there's a guy missing and then nobody pulls it. So basically Frank pulled it 3 times in a row.
I miss Frank so much. I don't think he's ever coming back, but he's clearly, I think if I was to rank like top 5 favorites, he would definitely be in the list.
Oh, definitely. Like after Westerman, I think in terms of entertainment value added, Frank is like a top 5, top 6 guy of all time.
He's also a great competitor too. I think that gets overlooked because he's so crazy half the time.
Yeah, that's the thing people forget about Frank is that he's never lost an elimination until that time he came on against Brad and Vendettas as a mercenary, which I don't even know if that counts.
I would not count that if it was me. Like anything on Champs versus Stars and anything you come in as a mercenary, I don't think that counts as your official elimination record.
Yeah, I agree, especially because a lot of the mercenaries said afterwards they just tanked it because they were going against their friends and were like, it doesn't really do anything for me, so why am I going to beat them?
Yeah, or hey, I'm just showing up, I'm collecting my paycheck, then I'm going home. Like the only one who seemed to take it super seriously was Derek when he faced Joss.
Yeah, like Derek, Jordan, and Laurel were the only ones who took it seriously, and like Laurel probably could have beaten Brittany walking backwards, so she didn't even need to.
All right, so number 3 on your list is what?
Number 3 is Cutthroat. So now we can talk about Cutthroat.
All right, let's talk about Cutthroat. Maybe I had it too low on my list. The one thing, and I wish they would go back to this, but I really liked the picking of the teams at the beginning. It made them a bit disjointed, so maybe you'd have to say who the captains are. Like, maybe that's a season that we can have. We can have Team Bananas, Team West, Team CT, and they get, it's just a pool of people, and you get to pick who you want. But, like, who to end up being? Like, Emily, Camilla, and someone?
It was Katie, Camilla, and Siobhan. And Siobhan had been on one episode at that point. Camilla came from the Spring Break Challenge and grew up in Brazil, so she knew nothing. And Katie was I think it was Katie, right? Yeah, it was Katie. And then Katie knew nothing either. I mean, she'd been around a while, so maybe Katie knew what was up. But these were, and then also all of them were gone pretty soon. So it wasn't like the captains ended up having any value as the season went on.
I really appreciated that Abe ended up being the quote-unquote captain of his team. It really did help them for the majority of it, except for that one that he sat out so he could coach everyone. That was really stupid. But
that was not a good idea.
It did really galvanize the team, and it got them to the finals. Then he got sick and then couldn't run. I think, who else got sick then? Was it Sarah in the final?
Yeah, it was Abram and Sarah both got sick that final.
Yeah, so you can't. It's like Wes getting hurt in the final of Rivals. That like you can't really hold it against him. He got hurt. Like, what are you gonna do? But Abe really carried that gray team, and that gray team was not good.
Well, the guys in that team were terrible. The girls were really good because we had Laurel, Cara, and Sarah. But the guys in that team were just so many unknowns. That's the really one issue with this season. The casting this season, especially when you get towards the bottom, is not great. Like that great team, you've got Abram, and then you have Luke, who's just a scrub. Some people
hold on. Luke is a fun character though, because he's such a stoner.
Oh, I do not know about that.
He is such a stoner.
Okay, sure, but you can find plenty of stoners to put on the challenge. Put Isaac on the challenge then instead of
No,
Luke.
Isaac's too weird. Isaac creeps me out. There's something going on with that guy.
He is very weird, but at least I don't know. I'm not a big Luke guy. If you want Luke on, fine, but then Luke needs to be gone in the first 3 or 4 episodes. He should not be making the final.
Oh, well, he did. He ended up getting there because you have Sober Dan, who's on this season. Then you have Siobhan. Oh, I forgot Vinny and JD were on that team. That's a bad.
Yeah, that team is bad.
Who picked this team? Siobhan?
That was Siobhan picking. So this team is Abram, a bunch of really good girls, and then everybody else was not good.
All right, so the red team is the team that ended up winning with Brad, Dunbar, Tori, and Tyler. That's a good team because they cut out Paula at the last second.
That's a pretty good team.
And they cut out Paula at the last second. Camilla's on that team. Chet's on that team. Mandy's pretty terrible. Melinda's okay. And Brandon's like okay. He's just not good.
Brandon's just like, his elimination record is pretty good. He's only lost, I think, to Wes, Derek, and Zach. So I think he's lost to good people in elimination. He's like the perfect sort of average competitor. Where, like, you know how you have, like, Vorp in baseball? If you had Vorp in the challenge, basically Brandon's just, like, the middle guy.
Yeah, but look at who he beat. He beat Cancun Derek. He beat JD. And then he beat Ty in what might go down as the most pathetic challenge elimination effort in history.
That was not good. Where Ty looks like he's going to win and then just completely falls apart halfway through the elimination.
Yeah, it's really bad. So there's a lot of, I really like the eliminations on the season. And of course you have the CT and Tina coming in. I hate that Tina was the other one. Like that sucks.
Yeah, that's not, how do you not get like
Evelyn?
Who would you have brought on? Yeah, Evelyn is probably the one to bring on.
Or Coral. Like Coral, if you're going to do like a throwback person, Coral's the person to bring in. Like Coral's beatable. Unlike CT at that point was not beatable. I don't think Tyler, maybe because Tyler was so big that the weight advantage would have worked for him. But I'm not even convinced Tyler beats Bananas in that one because Bananas in such better shape.
I still think Tyler would win. And both the girls ended up beating Tina too. So it wasn't like Teresa and Tori both beat her. And then apparently the reports afterwards, she just tanked it for Tori. That's another problem with the mercenaries. They need to like get through their heads is that sometimes people are going to favor one person over the other. So it's not the best to bring them on.
Oh, the red team is looking back at it now. I mean, knowing what we know and see where the careers of these people went. Like the blue team is pretty shitty too. Like you have Derek, you have Bananas, and you have Emily. They're like the only 3 good players on that team. And Emily's actually quite good in this season, but no one really noticed. I went back and watched this like a year or so ago, and she's really good in the actual missions.
Yeah, and the elimination, she's awesome too. She wins like, what, 3, I want to say, this season? She wins 1, 2, or is it just 2? No, she just wins 2. But, I mean, they have Teresa too. So that team had like a really good top 4. And then after that, they just were complete garbage.
Well, you have Big Easy. Anytime you have Big Easy, the only thing should be get rid of Big Easy.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Easy's on your team, and then T, of course, doesn't understand that. But if you have Big Easy on your team, priority 1 is getting rid of Big Easy. So then the problem with that too was in order to get rid of Big Easy, they couldn't win the missions. So like if they had to lose some of these missions to try to get rid of him, and then it just wasn't working.
This also had a really bad challenge where you had the fly swatters and you had to slap the other person in the face with them. That one was pretty stupid.
That one was pretty weird. One thing too with the drafting though, not only did they pick the worst captains, have these producers never done a fantasy draft before? Like, why doesn't they draft Serpentine and all?
I thought that's especially with the 3 people that were doing the picking, I feel like it's a very high concept.
I don't know. And then the red team ends up coming first. The gray team is second. Blue team is third. Like, it just goes chalk based on when they draft. Big surprise.
Do you know what the draft order was?
It's on the Wikipedia page, so I have it right in front of me. They had, remember, Camilla picked Dunbar as the first overall pick.
So, like, Serpentine or not, like, that's a terrible pick. I know they end up winning, and Dunbar ends up winning, but of all the guys on this cast, that's your number 1 pick? That's horrible.
Yeah, and Vinny was second, so it's not like, I guess, really, they could have just thrown all these names into a hat and picked it out and had more even teams that way. But that's still...
Well, maybe if we do this again, I can get DraftKings to sponsor the challenge. We can assign everyone like a DraftKings price, and then the 3 captains have to draft their team based on salary cap.
All right, here we go. Imagine if we had DraftKings as a challenge, I would clean up. Oh, my gosh.
Well, there are spoilers for the show, so I don't think that can really happen.
Yeah, that's fair. If it went to like the live format, like Big Brother has, then maybe we can get it going.
So that was number 3 on your list or the people's list?
That was number 3 on mine, yeah.
Okay, so number 3 on my list is Inferno 2.
Okay, so we can talk about Inferno 2 now.
So that does not appear higher on the people's list?
No, it does not. The people's list was actually pretty low. It was number 10. Mine, it was number 6, so I really like Inferno 2.
This is the best of the non-modern challenges. By far.
This is, I think, like the sort of transition season where you start transitioning from it being more of just like a gimmicky type show to actually having legit competitions.
I like the Inferno setup. I like the good guys versus the badasses. It's a great way to split people up. Like, it doesn't matter whether really they're badasses or good guys. A lot of these guys could really go on either side. Like The Miz, it's the last Miz season, but he's on the good guys team. He could easily be on the badass team, though.
Yeah, they kind of forgot about a lot of stuff with The Miz, putting on the good guys team. They're really bad at that, by the way, because Johnny Bananas is on the good guys team in Inferno 3, so they clearly don't know these people all that well.
Well, did anyone really even know Johnny at that point when he's on Inferno 3?
Well, on the real world, didn't he take off a girl's top?
I don't remember that. That's what Vinny did when he got kicked off of one of the seasons when we ripped off Mandy's shirt. But like even when Bananas is on like the season of the duel, he's just John and he's done in the first episode.
Yeah, I know, that's so funny. Thinking back to him is just John.
So
you know what, guys?
This is the first season that I watched in real time, so maybe I just have an affinity for it. But it's really good. Like, and the cast.
No, this is really good season.
The cast is out of this world too, and I can't remember. Is this the one or is it Inferno 1 where Veronica and someone else give Abe a 3-way after he gets eliminated?
That's Gauntlet 1. That's
Gauntlet
Veronica,
1.
Rachel, and Abram.
That's right. That's a great moment.
And they try to get Cora to join in, and she just turns it down.
Is this I get the first 2 Infernos mixed up. So the one where Veronica tries to kill Julie is Inferno 1, right?
That's where Julie tries to kill Veronica.
Yeah.
The Mormon going after her on Inferno 1.
And there's another part towards the end where I think it's Katie Doyle is like ragging on Veronica for having like bad skin. It's just a really bizarre argument.
That's also Inferno 1.
Maybe I should just have Inferno 1 on this list.
Well, also there's the elimination where Katie starts smoking in the middle of it because these eliminations were so weak sauce.
She's on the treadmill and just like hacking darts the entire time. That's perfect. See, that's more of the vibe that I want from the show. But Inferno 2 just has good people on it. Like this is the first like, oh shit, like CT is awesome season.
Yeah, this might be CT's actually best season. Really going back and thinking about it. The guys cast, especially on the season, is just insane. Because you have on the good guys, you have Miz, you have Darrell, you have Landon, and you have Brad, and then you have John, who whatever. And on the other team, you have Abram, CT, and Derek, and then you have Caramo, who's a scrub, but then Dan Renzi, who I actually like Dan Renzi. I think he's a decent character.
Dan,
this guy's cast just so stacked.
Dan the Joker is fantastic. That guy's a good injection into the house. I actually really enjoyed Dan all the way through. But like the badass team also has Rachel on it, and Rachel's probably top 5, top 3 female competitor ever.
I don't know, female competitors is so hard because I think there's a pretty clear top 3 with Evelyn, Laurel, and Emily, and then
I would say Rachel.
Where do you put Cara in that ranking?
Yeah, maybe fifth. Like she's not as good as Rachel. Like Rachel is perfectly designed for today's challenge too, more so than she was back then.
Yeah, no, she has a kid now, so I don't think she's coming back anytime soon. But and then Duel 2, she pretty much completely runs the show. So yeah, she was really she was really good when she was on. And
the season also has Jamie Chung, who probably is the most successful, except for that one person who's like a congressman from the real world. She's probably the most successful.
Oh yeah, Sean.
Yeah, she's probably the most successful challenger of all time.
Well, let's see. So most successful challenger, you have her, you have Sean, you have Miz, I guess. I mean, net worth wise, Miz is probably up there.
Yeah,
and then West
Bananas.
His business has actually gotten pretty big.
I would say Bananas too. Just the amount of money that he makes from the show.
Yeah, that's true. Especially now with him hosting First Look. I forgot to mention something about Bananas. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, we're clearly running out of time here. Jody's on this season, but also Brad's on the good guys team. I never really figured Brad as a good guy, but Jody wins the duel.
I think,
but she's bad on this season. Like she's a wreck.
Yeah, I don't think the competitions yet. I don't think were really like her strengths. Like the one elimination she loses to Veronica is where they had to like roll themselves up in the toilet paper and then hop and grab the flag with their mouth.
Okay, I like that.
No, that's what I'm saying. They should bring that type of elimination back because it's not like it's devoid of athleticism. That's still hard, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and this season also has Beth on it. And anytime that you can throw in Beth, that's like 2 episodes worth of fun. And then you have probably the hardest mission of like the missions on the season are really awesome. Like the very first one looks so incredibly hard, and where they're doing it's like the crab walk on the beach with the Marines. It just looks so difficult that I don't think they were expecting that when they came on.
No, yeah, completely. That's what I was saying. This is the one sort of the season that sort of transitions into like the more competitive aspect of the show, because you also have what I really think is the first like great physical elimination with Brad versus Abram, where they play the Powerball one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Is this the one where CT gets all the flags off that giant contraption too? I think it is.
I want it. Well, there's the one. It has the elimination where. I think that might be the Inferno that you're thinking. They've done a lot of flag-based eliminations, and CT generally is good at them. So
it was just like you had to like climb a structure and like go and get all of the flags along the way. That was the one that sticks out in my mind. Maybe it's not from this season, but just
there's one like that where Landon actually dominates, and
that's in Duel 2.
Well, no, there's the one where you had to like climb along the rope, and there's the flags along the rope, and then it was Landon and CT going against each other, and CT did well, but Landon beat him by like 8 meters.
All right, well maybe that's the one from this one that I'm thinking of. There's a huge contraption one like that in Duel 2 as well near the end.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, I like the team aspect of this one, and I really like the life shield stuff. That's such an intriguing element of strategy. Like I think that Inferno does team competition the best.
Well, I like Cutthroats a little bit better, but yeah, Inferno is really good too. That's one thing I think the season did well too. Like you don't need to have such a clear separation between the teams. It doesn't need to be divided by show or gender or like how long you've been on the show. Just get these people, put them in teams in some fashion, and you're going to have a good season.
Yeah, and make the teams relatively even, and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the problem with some of these other seasons, like Gauntlet 3 or The Ruins, where the teams are just so woefully imbalanced.
All right, what's the People's number 2?
The People's 2 is Rivals 1.
All right, higher on my list. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Rivals 2.
Okay, let's talk Rivals 2 for a second. How can you have Rivals 2 above Rivals 1?
So I think so. If we're talking about Rivals 1 later, we'll talk about some of the issues I have with it. I still really like Rivals 1, obviously. But with Rivals 2, the final, like, the cast is awesome in Rivals 2. So people forget how much drama there's going on in Rivals 2, too. You have so many great fights. You have the Frank Jordan one. You have when Knight puts the ketchup on Jemmy, and then Jemmy freaks out.
The final for this is stupid.
I don't mind the final for this, actually.
It's
I think it's okay.
It's horrible. And
it's just short. Like, I don't mind it because I feel like
you have Bananas and Frank as a team who may have never met each other before.
Well, like on Rivals 1, you had Mike and Leroy who I had met each other before, but were actually like best friends.
Yeah,
so
but
that didn't really work out. That
was actually one of the most endearing parts of Rivals 1, though. Like the whole Mike getting thrown into the entire mix, but like. It didn't make a lot of sense with the Rivals format, but there was where he was coming off Real World Las Vegas. There was really no one else to put him with.
No, yeah, that's true. I think that's one format I actually would like to see them do. Have like an allies format where you have maybe that's where you do the teams of 4. You have like team of 4 alliances and have them all go up against each other.
Yeah, I mean I'm in on that too, but I don't know. There's something about Rivals too. Just it's fine. Marlo and Jordan are good, although they weren't super giant rivals on Real World Portland. But I don't know, the first few episodes.
No, that's the one issue a lot of people have. The ending of this season, I think, is really good. Like there's one episode where they have the like dog collar things, and then they get it's like the electric fence where they get shocked, and then I think that's a really fun mission. And then after that, you have the great elimination with Jordan and Marlon versus Leroy and Ty, where they have like the team hall brawl.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the beginning of the season far more than I enjoyed the end of it, to be perfally honest. I enjoyed Anastasia being on the show, and then TJ having his best moment in the history of the show. Tells her to, who would have thought that smoking and not eating wouldn't work? See you never.
That is pretty funny.
It's a great TJ moment. You have CT hooking up with people. That's pretty good.
Yeah, this is also CT's first win too, which took him forever, but finally he gets one.
Yeah, CT never needed to win. It didn't matter.
You like him better as the Dan Marino of the challenge?
I mean, it's fine that he won. I like rooting for CT, especially now, but everyone always knew that regardless of whether he won or didn't win, he was always going to be probably the most dominant person who's ever been on the show.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just really like Rivals 2. I think the cast is awesome. Like, you have so many good rookies this season. Like, you have Jordan, Marlon, and Cook, which is like one of the best rookie classes outside of Fresh Meat 1.
Didn't we also get like Jemmy in the finals of this one?
Well, so this final was kind of weird because it was broken up into 2 parts. So you had the first part, which wasn't even really part of the final, really, where they had to build the puzzle and row the canoe. And then that's when Jordan and Marlon and Jemmy and Camilla get launched.
Yeah, well,
and then the second part of the final.
Well, Marlon couldn't swim, so that was a big factor in them losing. I think so, at least.
Yeah, that didn't help anything. And if I did any of them get that puzzle correctly? I'm forgetting now, but I don't think any of them ended up getting the puzzle, and they ended up canoeing back to their little boat.
No, I think you're getting that mixed up with Invasion.
No. Where because they swum out to the puzzle and then they had to build either like a cube or a cross, and then they canoe back to the boat. Because remember, Jordan and Marlon's boat capsized before they got back in the middle off.
Oh, I thought it was just a straight swim from the yacht.
No. You swum there and then you canoed back.
That's right.
I guess you could have some problems with the final. I think the missions are really good this season. That's one thing compared to Rivals 1. My issue with the mission in Rivals 1, none of them had you actually like work with your partner. Most of them were just individual missions, basically.
Who cares?
Yeah, I know, but if you're on a Rivals season, what you want is like the people having to work together, right? So that I think they did a lot better this time around.
I think you're getting far too into the semantics of all of this. They have to. It's
so,
fine if they work together, but who cares?
I mean, I guess I do. I don't know.
All right.
But I that's what I want to see, though. Like, I want to see Wes and Kenny having to work together. So having Wes and CT actually have to work together, and then growing as a pair, and then eventually winning, I thought was one of the better storylines of the season.
Yeah, but just having Wes having to beat around Kenny the entire time is Rivals enough for me. And the big thing about the big thing about the original Rivals versus Rivals 2 and Rivals 3, people are actually rivals on Rivals.
There was a few people who didn't like each other on Rivals too, but yeah, the
few
had a little bit more
people,
heat back then.
Sure, but in Rivals 1, like, it's legitimate people that don't necessarily hate each other, but they do have some sort of rivalry. It's not just completely fabricated.
I guess so. There's still some you could point to. Dude, that's part of the problem with doing it again, though, is you just can't really reuse those same partnerships again.
Yeah. My number 2 is The Duel.
Okay, that's higher on my list and the people's list.
Okay, so I guess we'll get to that next. So what's number 1 on the people's list?
I guess you might be able to guess now. It's The Duel and mine.
I really struggled between Duel and Duel 2. I like them both. And maybe it's just...
Really?
The opening of Duel 2 is just the greatest thing in the history of TV.
Oh, the opening is so good.
When
Evan is leading all of them in the little New Zealand haka.
Yeah, they're doing the haka dance. They're in New Zealand. And the setting for it, too, like where the elimination is. It's one of like the most like gorgeous seasons to look at. Like they're super high up on a hill. There's always like mist in the background. And the end of that season is really good. Plus, it has the greatest episode in the history of the challenge.
Yeah, what do you think is the best episode in the history of the challenge?
When CT freaks out and tries to kill Adam.
The opening one. That's the thing with Duel 2. So the first episode and the second episode are crazy. And then I think in the middle it kind of dies down. Like the first episode, obviously you have the whole CT Adam thing, which is about as crazy as the show has ever gotten. And then at the final, you had, I think it was 3 eliminations in one episode and the final.
And Evan won. And I'm on Team Canada, so I enjoy when Evan wins things. It was there's a clear distinction in some of these seasons. Like this was Evan's. There was no Johnny or Kenny on the season, was there?
Yeah, this is really Evan's season. Like I know Landon is probably the best competitor on this season, and he has maybe the best season of all time for anyone who didn't win.
Yeah, Landon makes the critical mistake of when they're down to 4 and they have to vote to see who goes in. He leaves the room to go get the paper.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Not smart, Landon.
I think he might have gotten voted in anyway, though honestly. But that's definitely not the move. Don't go get the hat.
And that challenge between him and Brad to see who goes to the finals, which Landon should have won and didn't because he's a moron. But that was his own fault for losing.
No, it was his own fault. With that elimination, I don't think everybody understood the rules perfectly. So I think that factored a lot into him winning. I mean, give credit to Brad, though. Brad definitely deserved to win that one elimination, but a lot of it was just Landon not knowing what was going on.
He did stick in it, and this is back in the time when TJ was, and they still do it. They do it more effectively now and more seamlessly, but if you go back and look at the old seasons, there's a lot of the explanation of the challenges and the missions and the eliminations with TJ that's clearly shot after the fact on a green screen, where that's not what the people are hearing.
I mean, there's a lot of that on pretty much any season. Anytime you see like a picture of the background and then TJ's voice coming over and on the speakers, that's
I'm gonna say anytime that you see like an actual tits up close up of TJ and the background and green screen is just so much better now that you can do it, that it's clearly a retake, and like whatever it took him like 5 minutes to explain 20 minutes ago is now taking him 15 seconds to explain for the viewers, not the people there.
Yeah. Man, they really needed this back when they had Johnny Mosley as the host. But now, God. Even with TJ, these don't get long lines either.
That is one thing for Rivals 2 that it has in its favor. That's the live reunion with Johnny Mosley, isn't it?
Oh, that I forgot to bring that up. That reunion is so good with Johnny Mosley just completely not knowing what's going on.
No. He clearly didn't watch the season and has no interpersonal skills with people to know when they're about to try to kill him or try to kill each other.
The part when Knight punches Frank in the face and then he's being escorted out by security, and then Johnny Mosley's like, anybody else have questions for Knight before they cut to break?
Who was the girl who came second on the season? Was it Brittany?
Brittany, yeah. She was only on this season. And somehow she ended up being partnered with Landon for most of it and then wasn't actually like...
They had a very complementary skill set.
Yeah, I just don't know how that partnership really happened, though. Like, to my knowledge, they hadn't met before. And there were people Landon had met before on the show. So I'm just curious as to how she snuck in to get the best guy. But.
Oh, maybe Landon was just like, hey, you're pretty good. Be my partner. No one knows who you are, but I'll be your partner.
Yeah, that maybe so. I mean, Landon probably had his pick of the litter, so.
All right, Duel 1 then. The Duel. Your number 1, the people's number 1, my number 2. It's just... Rivals, because of the production value and like the newer aspect of it, maybe I should have put Duel 1. That's very close for me.
Duel and Rivals, I think, usually come out as a top 2 on like most times you see anything.
It's funny because this is the individual challenge I was talking about. I like the actual duel format of how you get people thrown in. You got to pick a girl, the girl picks a guy, but the last person gets to pick who they want to face. I like that part of it.
I do too, because then you have like the fun of everybody making the list and trying to make sure they're secure in the list.
Then you got to remember
And
them.
then yeah, exactly. Then you have to remember who you're picking, who's picking you. So I think that part of it's fun. Yeah, I love the dual one. The cast especially the guys cast on the dual one is so good. And then there's just so many good storylines through that season. This is where CT and DM meet, and their relationship would drive a lot of what's going on in the show going forward. And then you have Wes in his second season sort of leading his little rebel alliance against the power team that's controlling everything. You have Beth against like the popular girls for the first part of the season too. So I really like this season.
And Beth gets Tina to punch her in the face. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
not a great move on Tina's part, but
what was the advertising budget? Like, did they just go to BMW and were like, listen, I got this show for you. It's like, like if you win this mission, they should go back to giving out prizes for the missions too. It's like, you're gonna win this new Motorola flip phone. It's like, and then Brad, if you win this one, you win a BMW motorcycle. It's like, what's going on here?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I would like them bringing that back. I guess now that just all goes to the prize money, but it'd be nice to have them set with little advertisements of the prizes.
Was there a less
like you're telling me?
Was there a less inspiring final on a female side ever than Jody and Svetlana?
I mean, Jody's pretty good. And Svetlana had a really good season. I didn't even bring her up, but her story as a rookie is pretty good. I mean, the Gauntlet 2 final, I know you like it, but I don't find it very good.
I just think it's funny that one team outsmarted another team so well.
Did that even happen though? Because both of them put all of their coins in on one part of it, and then the Vets just lost the part they put all their coins in the part of.
Yeah, they were stupid.
I guess so, but like I don't know.
So we had Wes versus Brad, which came really down to penalty kicks as the difference. Like Wes is
playing soccer,
and like let's be real though, CT screwed himself out of this season with the carabiner, and then it was a good Wes CT moment getting into it, where Wes was clearly behind.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really easy to fight and yell at CT when you're standing 25 feet away.
not as easy you're saying when you're actually in the elimination with him.
Yeah.
Do you think? I guess this probably happened more on Rivals 1, but do you think Wes purposefully got into it with CT on Rivals 1 in order to be partnered with him on Rivals 2?
Maybe. Like, out of all the people on the show, I think that Wes would be as calculated. I think that's why people point to Devin as being the new Wes, because I only think that Devin does all this stuff so he can get TV time and eventually become partners with Johnny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not so much. Maybe not so much now after the last season, but I think leading up to that was the whole point of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of by it.
Before we wrap up on the duel, though, there are a few more things that I did want to talk about. I mentioned earlier that you just have John in the opening credits and Bananas gets bounced on the first episode, which still makes no sense because Tyler, his friend, called him out. Is it like Tyler didn't know what the rules were?
I think maybe he was the one he felt like comfortable calling out, I guess. I don't know. That was really dumb.
Yeah, that
because it's like the rookies already had it stacked against them anyways, and then you're gonna call out the only other rookie. Like I don't know what he was doing there.
Yeah, like that, and that's your season. They're all from Key West. They're all rookies, and that's the only alliance that you have. That's the only voting block that if one of you gets picked, you can save all of the other ones, and you get rid of one right away. And this has the what's it called? The I Can challenge, which really sucks.
Yeah, that's very dumb elimination. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the other thing too? Oh, yeah. that CT
is
that CT flag thing that I was talking about. That challenge is on this season.
Yeah, that's on this season. Yeah, and that's a good elimination. It's just that they didn't know how to pull off the carabiner.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that one. There's an actual like mission where you have to climb up something and CT.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know
everyone.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and CT dummies everyone doing it, and then he ends up facing the. Also, Wes talking Evan into facing CT in elimination is kind of one of the craziest things that's ever happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I think Devin is not like Wes. I know he talked Tony into throwing Johnny, but like Wes convincing Evan to go in against CT and then his two biggest competitors, at least one of them going out, is really one of the better moves in challenge history.
Well, it seemed like on this season, like Wes and Evan they were like friends for 90% of the season.
Yeah, and then even on the reunion, Evan said they were friends. So I don't really know. I'm always curious what happened between the duel and Ruins that then everybody just hated Wes. Because like Evan was in charge on the Ruins. I was just they needed someone to throw in, and Wes hadn't been around in a while.
Yeah, I guess so. And it creates good drama as well if you have two of the top guys.
And then
going at each
also,
other.
also there was the whole West Kenny Johanna love triangle, I guess, that didn't work out well for West.
Well, in the worst season of all time, The Island is where that all crept up.
Yes, very happy you agree with me on that. I'm not a fan of The Island.
I remember watching it one time through, and it was horrible. I skipped to the end to see who won. And then I tried watching it. I was like, oh, let me give this a fair shake. I made it like an episode and a half. I was like, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's not good. It's a really important season, though. Like, that's Johnny's first win.
It's Johnny's first win, and it's like the worst bananas ever comes off in a season, too.
Yeah, he said most of the guys in that season, outside of, like, Derek and Kahuna, come off terribly. Right. And also, if Abram doesn't just leave, Johnny probably loses, and then he's just not Johnny Bananas.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. There's a lot of stuff set in motion, but it is not what. Where did that come on the people's list? Anyway, was it last?
It was, let's see. It was last outside of the first 4 seasons. So it was number 28. And then I'm pretty sure a lot of people hadn't even seen the first 4 seasons. So
I'm actually looking at that people's list right now. Rivals 3 is 27 and Battle of the Bloodlines is 26. Like, in what world is Battle of the Bloodlines better than Rivals 3? At least Rivals 3 has, like, the iconic moment from the challenge.
Well, but Battle of the Bloodlines has a few good moments. You have the Jenna Brianna fight. That was like the most hilarious fight ever.
It only has that. It's like, oh, you think you're so hot because your dad owns a bakery. Yeah, well, your dad's in jail. Like, that's the entire season.
Oh, well, there's that one. There's the whole Abram Thomas feud. That's great.
No, that's not even great. That's just awkward. And I thought Tom was going to die. And I hate Tom. There's just so many people that I hate that were on that cast. If you just shook the cast from the previous 3 seasons and just take like 90% of the people I don't like, they were all on Bloodlines.
Yeah, but Bloodlines does not have a good cast. That is true. There's a few really good moments on Bloodlines, at least in my opinion. Like the first episode when Tony comes on, it's just a complete maniac, and then like fights with his brother.
Yeah, that's actually a good moment, too. Is that the one where he sleeps with Christina, too, or is that a different season?
That's where he, they go in the bathroom together, and then Corey and Dario, like, pull them out before anything happens.
I hate Dario, too.
I don't mind Dario, like, last 2... I mean, he didn't do anything in Dirty 30. I didn't mind him on Rivals 3.
Ugh.
Or, like, Invasion. And then this season, he's not that good.
All right, let's talk about the final one. Rivals, my number 1. Where it didn't make your list?
It was tied at number 7 with Free Agents. It came out with a score of 79, so it was right around the border. And for the people, it's number 2.
Yeah, this is just the most fun season. And the first episode is fantastic, and they should really allow Adam Royer to come back at some point, because I loved that season of the Real World Vegas, because he was a fucking maniac the entire time. And what does he do? He comes on the challenge, and he's a fucking maniac again. Like, he was such a... And the best thing is, Leroy and Adam, like, he would have been a good competitor. They won the first mission.
Yeah, he was actually supposed to be on X's with Nani, but he couldn't pass the psych test. They couldn't let him on. The insurance costs would have been too high.
I could see that. Yeah, he did not seem like the most stable of individuals, whether it be from that challenge season or whether it be from his season of the Real World.
Yeah, he did not come off the best. With Rivals, I think... So I do really like Rivals. I think the first half of it, outside of the first episode, is kind of choppy. I don't think there's much going on there. The ending is awesome. Like, the last few episodes are really good. And then also, I just don't think the missions are that fun to watch. I know that's a small part of the season, but when you get down to, brass tacks here at the end, those things end up mattering.
Well, after Adam comes off, then you insert Michael into the mix. And Michael is someone I just really liked from the Real World Vegas. Like, true fish out of water being on the Real World and then being on the show. But he was just a good guy. And you rarely see someone who's a good guy and, like, you put him into this cast. Because everyone liked Leroy right away. It was a lot like we talked about with Evan when he came on to Fresh Meat. Like, he was sort of like top dog right away. Like, Leroy just got along with all of the top dogs right away because he's a real good dude. And he's good at the eliminations. Everyone also, I thought that Michael would take more heat from everyone, and it never really happened. Everyone just kind of liked him.
Well, there was the one time where they were, like, throwing the cookies at him or whatever. But for the most part, they were pretty well liked by everybody else. And it's kind of funny because there's the rookie pair on the season, and they never get thrown in.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably one thing that you want to keep them until the end, too. And when you have Johnny and you have, like, Evelyn and you have Wes and Kenny as the people really running this game, you would want to keep a crappy team with you till the end.
Yeah, that's true. Well, but the thing is, if you have Johnny, Evan, and Kenny already there, there's not 4 spots, so they would have had to get cut at some point.
Yeah,
anyway, Evan stuck around.
yeah, but Evan couldn't stick around because he had Nehemiah as a partner who was just horrible.
Yeah. Well, also he had to go to school actually at Cornell, so he had to leave early. That's one of the reasons why he threw himself in.
He also does not show up in the best of shape for this season.
No, this is not Evan's best season. That's the one thing I feel bad for Evan, because a lot of people sort of see Kenny as the better of the two, but Evan was better on basically every season they appeared together besides this one.
Yeah, that's true. And people actually liked Evan rather than Kenny. People hated Kenny's guts, and people, no matter if you were on the other side of Evan or not, everyone just seemed to get along with Evan.
Yeah, Evan actually seemed likable, but with Kenny, I mean, there was a few people who liked Kenny. From an audience perspective, I was never a huge Kenny fan, but
And Evan's sneaky, one of the best like confessional people of all time. Like people think that Bananas is now. Evan was way better than Bananas was. That's the whole thing. If the ruins, if the ruins thing doesn't happen, Evan and or Kenny has what Bananas has right now.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen, or if just the island doesn't happen, then it's really Evan. It might be Evan's show now. Who knows? Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. But the one good thing about this one, too, is all the bad teams got cut, like, right away. Like, Davis and Tyree are gone. Anissa and Robin are gone. Anissa, like, we talk about, like, overrated challengers. Like, she's pathetic. Like, she's bad at the challenge.
Well, who overrates Anissa, though? Like, I think Anissa's decent at eliminations, and then if you bring her to a final, she's going to be terrible.
They keep having her on. Like, she's still on seasons, and she's not good on any of them.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure why they keep bringing her back, because also your appearance fee increases the more seasons you go on. So you figure like she's more expensive than these rookies they can bring on, who will bring a lot more to the table.
All right, so you got Camilla and Teresa. They go out somewhat early. That's a pretty good team. Brandon and Ty, get rid of them. They're gone. Then you have Caitlin and Sarah. Poor Caitlin, man. Or poor Sarah in this situation. It's just a bad team.
Yeah, Sarah had some brutal. I mean, she's always had brutal luck in the challenge, but she had some bad partners for a while.
Yeah, well, look what happened when she finally got a good partner. What happened to her?
Well, she got Jordan and she won, but then Bananas she won but got no money.
Yeah, she went Caitlin, Trishelle, Vinny as 3 partners in a row. Like that's not good.
Yeah, it's Hunter than like the new Sarah, where he has horrible luck, like breaks his hand and then gets all the money taken from him.
Yeah, like Sarah's. It's funny. Like if you told me like when we were talking about like the top 5 like female competitors ever, like I would have Rachel at number 4. I think I would have Sarah over Kara. I think she's better.
Yeah, that's always an interesting question with Sarah, Camilla, and Kara. How would you rank those 3?
Probably Sarah, Camilla, then Kara.
Yeah, which sounds crazy because Kara is such the female face of the show now. But like Camilla, right before she had her disgraceful exit,
she
was
won
in
Dirty 30.
Amazing shape.
Yeah, and she won Dirty 30.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And Sarah's just the best all around person. Like no one hates her. So, and she's good at the political game. She doesn't like Kara and Camilla both have like meltdowns, which give them a whole lot of trouble, at least in past seasons. Never really happens to Sarah. Sarah was just saddled with shit partners for years.
Yeah, exactly. But she had Vinny twice. She has Caitlin this season. Trishelle is a bad partner and leaves two episodes in on Rivals too.
She was on like the shitty team on the Ruins.
Yeah, exactly. She's on the Challengers team on the Ruins. The great team with the Cutthroat, she probably would have won, but then her and Abram get sick. So just horrible luck throughout her whole time.
So you have Jasmine and John A. They're on this one. They were actually kind of fun as well. But then you have like Jen and Mandy, who did surprisingly a lot better than I thought. I missed Jen. I wish Jen was still around. Leroy and Mike make the finals. Laurel and Kara make the finals. Like the finals are like a who's who here. And then you have the great elimination before the finals where Tyler and Johnny beat CT and Adam, which you said on the last one that Adam threw, but I don't know if I believe that.
I think he threw it. It's not confirmed, but I really think.
Why would I don't understand why you would throw it. There's money on the line here, like
because he cuts a deal with the other teams and he hates CT.
Does that happen more than I think it does? Because that'd be the only thing that I would be doing. Like,
I think people cut deals. Like, I think on almost every season there's a deal cut at some point.
All right, so like if I was in Redemption House on the Final Reckoning season, that'd be the first thing I would do. I would say, listen, I would go up to the best team and say, look. If I go in, I will bring you in with me, even though I think that you can beat me. You have the best chance of beating me. But if one of us gets back in the house, we have some sort of profit share if you end up winning. Like that's the best way to save yourself.
Like you know how Zach like threw himself in and then really didn't want to throw in Johnny and Tony. Maybe that's because he cuts the deal with Johnny and Tony and then is going to get something back from them if they win.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense as well. So yeah, you have in the final, you have
And like,
you have Paula's first win in this one. You have Johnny and Tyler. They were the least rivalry of all the people, but it's not like they got along great.
no, especially like we talked about earlier with Tyler throwing bananas in on the duel, and then on Gauntlet 3, Johnny bringing it back and getting Tyler thrown in on the rookie side.
And then you have Evelyn and Paula. Paula gets her first win, and they squash their beef. Kenny and Wes don't squash their beef, but they're just highly entertaining the entire time. And then, again, the final for this one is just amazing.
Yeah, the final is really good, yeah. That's the one issue I have with the final two. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't have it as higher. So, like, the first half of the final, Kenny and Wes kill Johnny and Tyler by, like, 50 minutes. And then they only get a 5-minute advantage going into the second day.
They do, but
like, I get you have to keep it close, but
that's also part of the rules, of what ends up happening, and that happens in almost every challenge, though.
No, I know, but then now they have it where they like time each section and they release the times, or they just have it be one continuous thing. I don't know. I think they could have done that better.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I just thought it made it for a competitive final, and based on what happened to West, they weren't going to win anyway.
I don't know. I think they could, because Johnny and Tyler were not in good shape at the end of that final either. Kenny was really the only one who was going strong, because then Leroy and Mike quit.
Yeah, they was this the one where you had to? There was like I forget what final challenge it was. There was like a camping situation that was set up, and you had to memorize everything that was on it, and then go recreate it. Which one was that?
That was this one, yeah. And then Jen and Mandy were just so bad that when they showed like the little graphic, they were just like, it's just all wrong.
That was good. Anyway, that'll do it. The rankings season. We don't agree on what's number one, but we do. Your number one is my number two, and the people's number one. So we're close. So the duel probably the best season. Then that's our conclusion.
Yeah, is that what you would say is like the season to start someone on them?
I would go yeah, probably that or Fresh Meat. What comes first, Fresh Meat 1 or the duel?
Fresh Meat 1 comes first. Inferno 2 is actually before Fresh Meat 2.
Yeah,
I just think to get someone into the show though, like if you're just like, okay, you should watch this show. We'll get you into it. I think the duel one is the move.
Yeah, the duel is a good one to start with just because it's so good. I would start with Fresh Meat just because you can watch those continuously all the way up to now. Inferno 2 still has a lot of the old challenge in it where Fresh Meat doesn't. Like that's a clear mind. Yeah. That's a clear line in the sand of where the show was and where the show is now, I think.
Yeah, no, that's what a lot of people say. You also missed Gauntlet 2 though as well. And I know we didn't talk about Gauntlet 2, but I really like Gauntlet 2. So.
It was on my just miss list. I like Gauntlet 2 as well. It has Cameron from Southern Charm on it.
Oh, yeah, see, okay, I knew that was who she was. Yeah, the only issue with Gauntlet 2 is like you have Alton, Derek, and Keena, and they're like the only 3 characters throughout the season. But that one's the competition. That one's really good, and Derek and Alton just going into elimination and being monsters is really fun to watch too.
We'll eventually do an all-time cast draft, and we'll do teams. But is Peak Alton better than Peak anyone?
It's him or Landon. It's all Gauntlet 2, Alton, or CT, yeah. Like Gauntlet 2, Alton, Duel 2, Landon, and then like any of 4 or 5 CT seasons, I think, are the top 3.
Now, is Landon actually good, or was it just back then and he was the only one who was in good shape?
No, Landon was, I'm pretty sure Landon was actually good. He dragged Carly up a mountain and then was going up against Kenny and Laurel and won.
Yeah, I think Landon probably is the best. And he doesn't come with the hot-headedness of CT.
Yeah, exactly. And then Alton also had Alton really only has 1 super good season too. Landon has 4 seasons where he's one of the best competitors on every single one. But like on Gauntlet 1, Alton was okay. And then on seasons, he ended up quitting that during the season. So I don't even know if he has like the mental fortitude to deal with the challenge now.
All right. That'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. The Challenge Best Season Rankings. If you want to get into a draw for $20 DraftKings dollars, like the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and let me know what is your favorite episode. Maybe that's one to do. Best episodes. Favorite season of all time if you want to get into the draw. Rob, tell everyone where people can read your work and listen to the podcast.
So if you go to Medium at Vandalay Inc. 16, I know it's Seinfeld theme, but mostly it's just challenge content up there. I'll be covering the new season coming out and maybe a few feature articles looking at some more historical stuff. Also, if you go to challengechronicles.podbean.com or the Challenge Chronicles podcast on iTunes, you can find my podcast there.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the p.m. East. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the places. You can download podcasts. You can download the Pat Mayo Experience. Brand new episode every single day. That'll do it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!